Thank you, Judy, and good morning. We are glad you're here on this Sunday after Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Sunday to you all. This is really a very special Sunday for us, so we're going to hold off on any news of our community and announcements that people want to share. We can do that during the congregational meeting after worship. And so we will just begin with our worship and our musical call to worship. Here we go.
All right. If everybody would please stand as you're able for Turning of the World.
We
remain standing for this responsive, participatory call to worship. We come today to celebrate human rights. We come to inspire each other with songs and stories. We come to empower each other as we connect with one another. We are people of faith who gather to bring positive change to our community. There's special music.
You may be seated. We're going to sing Let Justice Roll Down today. We will do our best and we will make it work without Barbara. The chorus is, "Oh children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we'll make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream." So as I was getting ready for this week, having been to the conference last week and then played out in bed all week this week, I wanted us to have some thoughts on what we're going to do next. So let justice roll down.
Thank you. And I said at the beginning, this is a very special Sunday for us for many, many reasons, but not the least of which, Natalie was at an empowering, exciting conference this past week before she came home and went into recovery. And we are going to be so delighted to hear your report as you share with us all the things you learned and give us some direction on where we're going to go. So thanks very much for being there and being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward to it.
So thank you to David and Connie who kind of gave me a thought of, hey, what am I going to do with the fact that I just spent 4 days in Georgia surrounded by people full of love and fight and wondering what to do next. But I'll tell you what was not going to not happen next is this year's Pride. Because everybody there was planning on how do we put on Pride for this year. So the conference I went to in Atlanta, Georgia was U.S. Association of Prides, and it was prides throughout the nation, small, like really small cities who have a few people who come to their prides to thousands of people who come to their prides. There's our size prides. There were prides who spend more on security than I think I can fathom Wichita Pride ever spending on Pride. That would have been San Francisco. So we had small prides, big prides, all sorts of love, and lots of rainbows and trans flags. And what really touched me was not what I went to learn, because to be clear, I probably didn't learn a whole lot, right? I networked a lot. I made a lot of new connections. But one of the things that really, in my heart of hearts, told me this is where I needed to be is about a month beforehand when I learned that Stacey Abrams was going to be the keynote speaker. All right, so let me get this right. Wichita Pride is paying for me to go to a conference where I'm going to get really, really excited by somebody who's going to tell me how not to lose hope, because that's what we live with every day. Many mornings in the last month, I have woke up to, I need to tell you what's on my mind right now. And that's when the deep breath goes and, okay, I've got myself grounded. Okay, what are we thinking about this morning? And for those of you who don't know, this is typically at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I've been up 30 minutes feeding the cat, maybe getting a drink, before my wife says we need to talk. I always know that's a rough start to the day. And it's, okay, I just need to make it through and get to work so that way I can put this back in the box where it belongs. But I think what Stacey told us is that's not where it belongs. That's what we need to use for what we're going to do next. So I know last week I had sent Connie a clip of Stacey's speech, and so you got that. You got to listen to that last week. I've got the full 22 minutes today as a special for you. I'm sorry, Paul, I ran out of papers before I got to you. I was one short. But most people should have a transcript in case you have a hard time hearing what the speech is. And so then afterwards I'll come back and I will share a little bit more about my takeaways from what Stacey has to share. Oh, thank you, Billy. You might know.
I was in high school, and my parents, my mom was a librarian, my dad was a shipyard worker, but they had always been committed to social justice, and they were called into the ministry. So at the age of 40, my parents both applied to and were admitted to Emory University to the Candler School of Theology. They came to me and they said, Stacey, you're heading into your junior year of high school. We don't want to pull you out of high school before we go, but we don't want to wait because you're the second of six children, and if we keep waiting, we'll be dead by the time we can move. So do you mind moving in your 10th or 11th grade year? I'm like, do I mind leaving Gulfport with one mall to move to Atlanta with at least 3 malls? I'm like, I'm good, let's go. So we moved to Georgia. And my parents, who had raised us first in the Baptist tradition and then in the United Methodist tradition, looked around for churches. And my parents managed managed to find the whitest church in Georgia. We attended St. Mark United Methodist Church on North Avenue and 5th. When we got there, on Peachtree, we got to St. Mark and we're looking around, we're like, Martin Luther King is from here. How is it this is the church we're attending? And my parents pointed out that this was a church that believed in justice. That it was a church that had a homeless shelter and a soup kitchen. And it had an annex above the church that was home to El Salvadoran refugees, many of whom were undocumented. It was a church that believed that the faith that we practiced had to actually be practiced. And so I was a proud member of St. Mark. But I grew up in Mississippi. I grew up in the Deep South, and the traditions that often told me that there were divisions among us that were never to be mended. And so it was with great surprise that when, after our first year there, we learned about the hate parade that would come down Peachtree Street and pass right in front of our church. It was such a hateful thing. They would carry signs and they would scream out on Saturday that God hates gays. My parents, who were the only black adults in the church, had a meeting with the rest of the church, and they decided that the next time that happened, we were going to do something about it. So St. Mark, the following year, when the denizens of a church across the street decided to do their hate parade, my parents had us, their 6 little black kids, the older white people who attended the church, the El Salvadoran refugees, all standing out front with poster boards saying, "God loves gays, welcome to St. Mark." I tell that story because it should be a story of a past that we should not have to acknowledge. It should be a done deal. It should be that 30 years on, that story has no resonance because we are better people. And yet, we stand in a moment when the highest powers in the land have targeted once again an oppressed community to say your oppression didn't last long enough. What else can we do? But I am here as a straight black woman because I was raised to believe, as Audre Lorde said, oppression has no hierarchy. And if any of us are under the thumb, if any of us are under duress, if any of us are under attack, then we are all called into action, because anyone who faces harm, who faces having their humanity denied, deserves to have their humanity celebrated, protected, and defended by those who think they are impervious to harm. We are responsible. I moved on to Spelman College when I became the student body vice president. And one of my first acts as student body vice president was to sign into authorization, because we had lots of powers as student body vice presidents. We got to authorize student clubs. And for years at Spelman College, a women's college, a black women's college, it had been against the rules of the school for the lesbian communities to organize. My predecessor in that role had said that God told her to stop it. Like, I don't know which Bible you're reading, but mine's missing those pages. And so one of my first acts as student body vice president was to authorize the first lesbian bisexual organization on Spelman's campus. And yet, with the attack on DEI, those organizations, if you are in certain states in this country, and if you are in any places in the next few years, those organizations will be outlawed because they are considered DEI. And so we have to remember that no matter what initials we assign, the values are what are under attack. They despise the value of diversity, which means all people. They revile the notion of equity, which means fair access to opportunity. They are offended by inclusion, which means a pathway to the American dream. And so whether we use LGBTQIA+, or we use DEI, they are after US. They're after us. They're after our nation. And we must say no. We must say stop. We must push back. same time. Our responsibility is not to allow them to divide us by our oppression, but to unite us in our humanity. And if we are watching any community face oppression, face degradation, face attack, face mass deportation, then our voices must be louder, not because we are afraid, but because we know fear is unfair and we will not succumb. That is our responsibility. That is our obligation. I have spent the last 2 years standing up an organization or a series of organizations called American Pride Rises, APR. I did it for 2 reasons. One, because there is nothing more American than the notion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We wrote it down, we just forgot what we meant. But if you look at our founding documents, we were supposed to be a nation that welcomed all, that believed in the value and the humanity of all. And starting with the Revolutionary War, we were supposed to do better. And we have for 248 years, and I can prove it. Because you wouldn't be watching so many lawsuits and so much work being done if what we had done had not already worked. They are upset with the LGBTQ plus community because you are showing up and you are proud to be there and you know that it's your right to be visible. And they are angry about it. They are angry at Black people who know how to speak out loud. They are upset with Latinos and with the Native American community. They are upset with anything that is different. They are coming after the disabled, thinking they have too much access. This is vile. This is wrong, and we can win because we've won before. We know we can win because we have the Civil Rights Act of 1868. We have the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. We have the Respect for Marriage Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Moral Land Act. We have the right for women to own property. We have an integrated military. We have the Fair Labor Standards Act, and I want to shout out my friends from Unite Here and the labor community who are fighting hard right now to make sure we keep our rights. We have family medical leave because women deserve the right to work if we want to and raise our families if we want to, without having to risk our futures if we don't want to. We have Title IX and Title I, and I will point out that if you are a graduate of a public school that received Title I funds because you were an underfunded school, maybe you grew up in, I don't know, the Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky, and you became the Vice President of the United States, you are a DEI baby. by parents who told me that no matter how little you have, there is someone with less. Your job is to serve that person. And my father, that was my mother's way of saying it. My dad would say, having nothing is not an excuse for doing nothing. We sit here thinking we barely have our rights, so we need to be quiet, hoping they don't take what we've got away. Well, the point is, they're just waiting. They're going after others, but they're coming back for what you've got. So if you let them take from others, hoping that if you sit still, they will forget you, you do not remember your history. They are coming after all of us, but there are more of us than there are of them. But we can't put aside our fear if we hold it as a truth. You see, I know fear. I've gotten to know my fear. I take it out to lunch on Thursdays. And I ask myself, what exactly am I afraid of? Am I afraid of losing? Well, I've had not before. Am I afraid of embarrassment? Well, I've been embarrassed before. Am I afraid that it's going to hurt? Well, I've been hurt before. Whatever my fear is, whatever fear I've confronted before, I have survived it. And I can survive it again, but what I cannot survive is living with myself knowing I have not done enough for others because I was afraid that doing might make people pay attention to me. These parades are simply demonstrations outwardly of what we know inwardly. And that is our moment is now. That our oppressions not only bind us, they lift us up. That as a Black woman who lives in the South, I spend day after day fighting for those who don't know they're entitled to more. And for you who has faced laws arrayed against you, we have to remember that those laws didn't disappear by accident. They disappeared by action. That we have three branches of government, no matter how loud and how perverted and how vile one of those branches is behaving right now, and how silent and how ineffectual one branch is behaving. And we're going to see what our judicial branch decides to do. But no matter what they decide, we must make the decision in this moment, in this space, that we will not let our American pride, our U.S. pride, be quashed by those who do not understand that we are all Americans and they don't have the right to take that from us. American pride rises when we do our work. And so I want to leave you with three responsibilities in this moment. The first one is to do what you have done so eloquently, so effectively, so consistently, and that is speak up. Say speak up.
Speak up.
They want us to be silent. Regardless of who we are, they think that if they are loud enough and mean enough, we will go silent, and for a while they have been right. They expect me to say nothing because, well, it's not my problem. They expect you to say nothing about mass deportations because it's not your problem. They expect immigrants to say nothing because poverty is not their problem. They expect us to bifurcate and trifurcate, to divide ourselves so much that they can come and pick us off one by one. But we can respond by speaking up. Say, speak up.
Speak up.
We have to tell our stories, and we have to call out those who have done us wrong. And if you live in Minnesota, you've got to do a GoFundMe to replace the money that said that you are not enough anymore. We can speak up not only with our words, but our wallets. We can speak up with how we carry ourselves and who we align ourselves with and what we tolerate. We can speak up by knowing that our oppressions are united, and while pride may be the central focus, that pride has to include everyone if it is to include anyone. We have to do what?
Speak up.
Our second job then is to stand firm. Say stand firm.
Stand firm.
We have a president of the United States who believes that national security is enhanced by eliminating those who would sacrifice their lives for this country. And I don't care. I do not care if it offends his sensibilities. If you are a member of our military, transgender or not, if you are willing to fight for me, I must fight for you. We must stand firm together today. To be told that you cannot compete in a sport with your colleagues because it offends their sensibilities. We must stand firm and defend our children from the vile behavior that is coming from adults who definitely know better. We must stand firm. Say, stand firm.
Stand firm.
We must stand firm against those who would tell us that we've gotten enough and it's time to be quiet. Because when they say DEI, they mean us, and we can stand firm together by saying we will not go back and we will not let any community be demonized to let some other community be weaponized. We are going to do what?
Stand firm.
When we are told that our parades are offensive, that our protests are annoying, that our voices are too loud, we are going to be louder, we're going to march harder, we're going to do more because we are going to do what?
Stand firm.
That is our responsibility in this moment. It is going to be hard because they are going to start to pass laws and repeal laws. Don't think it's not coming. It's why they have done their best to take over state legislatures. It is why I'm so proud of Sam Park and Matthew Wilson. It is why we have in the state of Georgia a sufficient population to have an LGBTQ plus caucus in the state of Georgia because we stand firm. But they can't do it alone, so when the state just starts to legislation, when the state of Georgia to tell our children that they are not enough, when the state of Georgia, which has almost more military bases than almost any other state in the South, when they tell us that those who serve our nation aren't sufficient, then we must do what?
Stand firm.
So first we're going to do what?
Speak up.
Let's do that again. First we're going to do what?
Speak up.
Then we're going to.
Stand firm.
Thank you. We're going to do that one more time because it sounds really good. We're going to first do what?
Speak up.
And then we're going to.
Stand firm.
And third, we are going to stay strong. Say, stay strong.
Stay strong.
In this moment, we are being told that we've already lost. As the South African apartheid baby swarms through our government, stealing our privacy, wrecking our narrative, and pretending that a salute that honors those who are filled with hate was simply an accident of Roman times. We are going to stay strong. Say, stay strong.
Stay strong.
When those we have elected turn their backs on us and say they won't do their job because they're afraid of losing their jobs, we are going to stay strong.
Stay strong.
When we hear ourselves called everything in my faith tradition but a child of God, when we are looked at sideways and told that our dead names are the only names that can be used, when someone can tell us who we are and whose we are, we will not capitulate. We will not give in. We are going to do what?
Stay strong.
When they march down our streets and they say that we cannot be friends with one another, when they tell us that we must be separated by our oppressions and distinguished by our harms, we are going to come together and bind together because we are going to do what?
Stay strong.
When this world looks darker than we could imagine because USAID, which provides 48% of the world's humanitarian aid, is told that they have to come home and abandon their responsibilities and they say we will not move, we are going to speak up, we are going to stand firm, and we are going to do what?
Stay strong.
We are going to tell them that we are there with them, and we are going to demand from our congressional members that they do something about it. We are going to call them up every single day when we wake up, before we go to bed. We are going to flood their zones and flood their narratives and flood their offices with our voices because we are going to do what?
Stay strong.
We are going to do what we must because America needs us. I am here today not because I am a member of this community, but because this community makes me a member of the human community. I am going to stay strong. I am here because I believe that it is my responsibility when asked by Glenn Paul to do anything. It is my responsibility to speak up. It is my responsibility when they tell me that I should not align myself because people might misunderstand who I am, that I stand firm. And it is my obligation in a moment like this when they will use crisis to divide us strong. So USA Pride, I'm here to tell you, they are hoping that this cloistered room goes home and that you keep your silence, that you weaken your resolve, and that you sit down and shut up. But we're going to show them different, aren't we? Yes. We're going to show them different, aren't we? Yes. We're going to do what? We're going to speak up, say speak up.
Speak up.
And then we're going to stand firm, say stand firm.
Stand firm.
We're going to stay strong, say stay strong.
Stay
We're going to do
strong.
what? We're going to what?
Speak up.
And then we're going to,
Stand firm.
and then we're going to,
Stay
we're
strong.
going to do it again because you didn't all get it right the first time. We're going to do what?
Speak up.
And then we're going to,
Stand
and
firm.
then we're going to do what?
Stay
We're
strong.
going to do what? We're going to what?
Speak
And
up.
we're going to,
Stand firm.
and then we're going to,
Stay strong.
because they can't beat all of us, but if we stand together, we will win. Thank you so much.
So, what are we going to do? I think Stacy gave us a pretty good idea, at least in the grand scheme of what words we can use. Next slide. So, let's talk about speaking up. Oh, man. All right, so what y'all can't see is that the letters in the top are the pink and blue, black and brown for speak up. So, be a constituent. Nationally, contact your senators about the anti-trans athlete bill, HR 28. Let them know that you're against it. Be a constituent at the state level. Contact your legislators to uphold the veto that the governor put through last week on trans youth health care. Contact your senators associated with the Education Commission against Senate Bill 76 for trans youth in schools. For anybody who hasn't heard about that one, Lisa and I submitted testimony to be read last Monday. That makes it an ability for anybody who is in the schools. They're not allowed to use anybody's preferred name or chosen name. They have to use their dead name. They have to use the pronouns associated with whatever was on the birth certificate. And if anybody hears somebody supporting somebody, it's okay for them to sue because it could offend them. I will tell you right now in my testimony, which was written directly to Senator Erickson, I feel ashamed of where she's at. Because when Luna transitioned and she was principal, we felt nothing but support as we went through that and Michael's death. To think that we would put our children in harm's way is outrageous. Nobody should have to go through that. We all went through that together, and to see anybody else, it pains me. Engage at all levels. Talk about the values. Talk about the humanity. Talk about what's being taken away. Support the organizations that love the ones you love. On the communion table here, I brought, I wore one of my new rainbow shirts. I brought a new rainbow shirt. Plus, I have shirts from other organizations that we have here locally. Support those organizations because they are what's helping our community right now. And when they don't replace that sponsorship, and when businesses no longer support the community, replace that sponsorship with what you can. So what you might have heard Stacey Abrams talk about was in Michigan, one of the prides turned down their annual sponsorship from Target. All right. So
that was really big for them, and it was a really hard decision for them, because for them that was a lot of what their pride was based on. But they started a GoFundMe, and they made more than what Target has ever given them. So as a community, we came together. And then correct misinformation and disinformation anytime. It doesn't matter who's in the room. If there's somebody who's part of the community or not part of the community in the room, always correct misinformation and disinformation. All right, so we're going to do what? We're going to speak up. And then we're going to stand firm. Remind people that their existence is not defined by others. Your existence is not defined by others. Be you. Don't hide. Don't be anything different than who you are meant to be. Because together, we can stand firm. Stand with those who are being targeted, whether they're in the room or not. Again, make sure that when you hear things, you're correcting it. When you're in a room and somebody says something, say something. Don't let it go away just because somebody's not there to be offended by it. You take care of it. And make sure that trans voices are being represented. That was a really big topic at USA Prides last week. And as we were, so every time we had a workshop, there were 3 workshops in each section, and there were 3 of us from Wichita Pride there. And everybody's like, well, this one feels called to me, I feel called to this one. I'm like, okay, well, I feel called to the trans one. I mean, it's, something that's always on my mind. So that's why when I say I went, and I can't say I really learned anything, because I'm already thinking every time I make a decision of, are trans people being included, right? So I will say it was a good opportunity to have conversations. We were welcomed up to Michigan to come live in case this state ever becomes what we don't want it to be, with our daughter. And so have a sanctuary up there of support. But right now we're not losing hope. We're staying. But make sure that trans voices are included. So we're going to speak up, we're going to stand firm, and we're going to stay strong. So be willing to represent at Pride. I know that in prior years, it's ebbed and flowed of when we've had people who could participate and not participate, but be willing to be there, be present. Be willing to learn from other people's experiences. Not everybody has the same experience, and somebody's experience may be different than yours. So be willing to listen, learn from them, stand together. Confront resistance with courage, kindness, and grace. Advocacy is not easy, it's messy. Invite people to come close and listen, with ears to hear, hearts to understand, eyes to see, and feet to take action. This isn't going to be a time for us to sit back and do nothing. As Stacy talked about, they're going to come for all of us. And our job is to stay strong and stand firm and speak up. So we're going to lead with courage. We're going to lead with clarity. We're going to avoid ambiguity, even though I deal with it every day at work. It seems to be the best thing in the business world. And we're going to lead with conviction, because we all know human rights make a difference and people matter. And we're going to speak out while being prepared for pushback. And I think before we turn to our next song, I just want to take a minute to think about the ways that we as a congregation are changing right now. And we have a lot in front of us, but together is what it's going to take us to get through. And so we're going to do what? We're going to speak. Okay, let's try that again, right? We're going to speak up. Yes, okay. And we're going to stand firm, and we're going to stay strong. All right, so we all know we're in the middle of Kansas, right? But we've got a lot of love in this building, and I think this love can stand strong, can stand firm and stay strong and help all of us speak up when the time is right. Thank you. All right, and
We're going to do our affirmation and then do a song. You know, one of the hardest things about going to a conference like that is coming back and not having any place to report it. And not having anybody to share it with. And not being able to come back and feel like there's a community there that's ready to roll up their sleeves and get in with me. And so, thank you very much. And I think what we'll do, maybe during the congregation, or during our conversation after worship, if you have some questions you want to ask Nat, there'll be a time to do it there. But let's share this affirmation of faith, and then we can do singing for our lives. So we believe love is not weakness, it is decisiveness. Love is listening without judgment. Love is building a society in which diversity is not only tolerated, but celebrated. Love is a choice we make every day. Thanks be to God. So be it.
Please stand as you're able for our hymn of faith, singing for our lives.
Gentle and
we had a chance, I had a chance to meet Holly Near when we went down to close the School of the Americas. Judy and I went down there. That was pretty cool. So we come to a time of prayer and give thanks in our prayers for the witness that we heard today and for your experience in Georgia and for your willingness to come back and give us some marching orders on what we can do, because too often people do feel empowered or feel like we're not empowered. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, David. It's like I want to thank Sally for the ride to church today. And Natalie's, it's like her thing brought something to mind. It's like for me, it's like I go to Spangles after church quite often, pretty much every Sunday. And it's like, and the manager there, it's like asked me, it's like about my name, and it's like she was very, she asked in a way that was, that didn't offend me. And it's like, it kind of took me aback. So it's like, I think it's like she was just curious to know. It's like if my given name was Karen, and I told her it was. And it's like, I think that God was speaking to her that day.
Well, we give thanks that you're here today, and we give thanks for your witness and for speaking your truth. In the name of Christ, amen.
I offer up prayers for Ann, our secretary. She fell Thursday and tore up her ankle pretty bad. She's going to have some surgery Monday or Tuesday. But just everybody give her a prayer and for healing, quick healing. It's the same ankle that she's broken before. So keep her in your mind.
She broke her ankle at home, slipping on some ice. So just a word to the wise as we think about this week on Wednesday, the weather we're going to be having. So send Ann a card, and she'd appreciate that and be surprised. Thank you for lifting her up in prayer today.
Listening to the speech, it made me think about how we have tried to make statements through our whole life about how we want things to change. And I was just thinking about, we did a lot of boycotting in our time. And I don't hear people talking about that as much right now. But not using some of these stores that are backing off and not having DEI is a form of boycotting. And and the reverse of that being going to only stores that do accept it. And making a point of saying that when you check out. I think that we are looking desperately for ways to make statements that we have been struggling with, because some of us have just got to start making statements, whether what we're risking or not.
Thank you for that word and that prayer, and remembering that boycotts really are an important source of economic power that we can all exercise. So we give thanks for that witness. In other words, we want to, I think in our prayers, we remember today the continuing exchange and dialogue going on in the Middle East between, what a crazy place to be in Gaza these days. So let us remember the people of Gaza and those who are working for peace and for a homeland for the Palestinians. It's been going on since 1947. So we remember them in our prayers today. And also, I think the people of the Ukraine, and for those of Russia who have experienced the tragedies of war.
Director of Church World Service, otherwise known as CWS. And all of the employees have been furloughed because of everything that has gone on with the current legislature of, well, not the legislature, well, it is, but with the current leadership is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, remember people, and we had friends who did work for AID when they're retired now, but they worked for USAID at one time. It's amazing. So we remember Church World Service and all those who are doing humanitarian work in every part of the world in our prayers. And join me in this heavy time. We turn to you, O God, in prayer, giving thanks that we can encourage one another, inspire each other, empower each other, that we can stand up and speak up and stay strong as we walk together towards that new day that you promised to all people in Jesus the Christ. And so we share together in the Lord's Prayer, indwelling God, infused through all existence. We honor you with many names. Your realm is within the human heart. We accept life for all that can be, on earth as throughout all creation. May we continue to draw sustenance from this earth, and may we receive forgiveness equal to our own. May we ever move from separation toward union, to live in grace with love in our hearts, forever and ever. Amen. The simple meaning of communion is with. It means to be with one another, to be with one another in community. So Christ promised to us, I will be with you as you eat the bread and drink this cup. I will be with you in the brokenness of the world. I will be with you when you share your love with one another. I will be with you when you share your frustration and your fear. I will be with you as together you work with your neighbors and your friends to build a new society. So as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, do so in remembrance of me, and to know that we are in communion with one another. Thanks be to God. Let us come, for all things are ready. Cup of blessing, and bread of life. The bread of life and the cup of blessing.
All right, we invite you all to stand for the sending forth Rise as One. And words and music are by Aaron Fowler. We will march as one. We will stand as one. We will rise as one. We will march as one. We will stand as one. We will rise as one. We will rise as one. We will rise as one. Working hand in hand, we will rise as one. We will laugh as one. We will cry as one. We will rise as one. We will laugh as one. We will cry as one. We will rise as one. We will rise as one. We will rise as one. Working hand in hand, we will rise as one. We will fight as one. We will win as one. We will rise as one. We will fight as one. We will win as one. We will rise as one. We will rise as working hand in hand, we will rise as one. We will rise as one. We will rise as one. Working hand in hand, we will rise as one. We will rise as one. We will rise as one.
Thank you. So to have shalom is to have completeness, wholeness, health, peace, welfare, safety, soundness, tranquility, prosperity, perfectness, fullness, rest, harmony, the absence of agitation or discord. Shalom. We will have our meeting back in the Grace Room.